Hello, and welcome to the Make Your Website Work For You webinar, a training brought to you by the Indian Country Digital Trainers Program at the National Congress of American Indians. My name is Yana Allen, and I serve as the Director of Civic Engagement and Special Projects here at NCAI. Today, I'm pleased to introduce our instructor, Jeremy Sandoval. Jeremy, who is Okeowenge, is on the staff of the American Indian Chamber Education Fund and works on two AICEF business development programs. Under AICEF, Jeremy is an Indian Country digital trainer for Grow with Google. He is also a procurement specialist for the American Indian Chamber Education Fund Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Through these programs, Jeremy assists Native American businesses, tribes, and tribal enterprises to help become familiar with the federal acquisition regulation, the maze of understanding the procurement process, and when working with the government and overall business development. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Yana. As she mentioned, my name is Jeremy Sandoval, and today's workshop is Make Your Website Work For You, and I'm really excited to get started. So for those of you that don't know about Grow with Google, it's an initiative that helps people prepare for work, find jobs, and grow their businesses using Google's tools. So today, you're going to learn how to create a website that supports your business goals. And whether you're launching a new website or sprucing up an old one, this workshop will help you get the most out of your website. So let's get started. We know that today, now more than ever, small businesses are getting online to connect with consumers and drive sales. After all, many of us are connecting with businesses from our own home these days. So it's important to make sure, as a business owner, that you keep your website up to date with critical information, such as news and announcements that might affect your operations or your customers. So first, start by reviewing your website to identify the products or services or operations that might be affected. Then add in information and resources to help your customers understand why you made these changes. So you could create a video message or a series of video messages, but whatever you choose to do, just continue to add updates when appropriate. As many businesses shift some or all of their operations online, it's now more important than ever to have a website that works for your business. So let's start by reviewing web design. When people think about web design, they typically think about the overall template or the look and the feel. So that would be, the graphics and the layout that appears consistently throughout the website. But that design is just one component of web design. Within the graphic template, there are a lot of common elements that appear on most websites. These could be the header, which is the top section of the website. And the header usually includes your company logo on the left corner, and most website visitors expect that when they click that logo, it will link them back to the home page. Then you'll have the footer or the bottom section of the website. The footer usually includes important links, contact information, hours of operation, copyright information, and then you have the navigation. So that's usually across the top of the site underneath the header, or it could even be on the left vertical side of the website. And some websites are built from scratch, where others are use a content management system, such as Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, etc. Most CMS options include web-based tools to allow you to easily build, customize, or update your website. And there are many options out there, so you'll want to do some online research to figure out which option works best for your business. So whether you're building a website from scratch or using a content management system, the principles from today's workshop will still apply. So in today's presentation, we're going to look at 6 characteristics of what makes a great website. Remember that a website is not all about just design. A great website is goal-oriented, it's organized and easy to search, it's useful, it's functional, intuitive to use on any device, and last but not least, it's findable by search engines. So you have to start by thinking about what the goal of your website is. What's the purpose of your website? So many business owners know that building a website is an important first step, but a website can be a lot more useful than just an online business card or brochure. So with some advanced planning, you can create a site that helps your business grow. But how do you want to grow? Well, you need to start by defining goals. So ask yourself, why do I want to build a website? And what do you want it to do? You think of your site as a tool to achieve business goals. So those goals would really depend on your business. But some examples could be to build your brand, generate leads, make sales, attract employees, etc. Next, think about who is your target audience. This will influence how you build your site to achieve your goals. Your audience impacts everything from the graphic design of the word to the words on the page. So your site shouldn't try to be everything to everyone, but you should try to hone in on that audience and really define it. And defining your target audience might sound simple, but it might take a little bit of effort. So you could, relatively easily define an audience with demographics like gender, age, or employment status. But if you stop there, it makes it a lot more difficult for your business to actually stand out amongst the competitors. Also, you want to try to avoid stereotyping your audience, as that can lead to false assumptions. So ask yourself, what makes your audience unique? So your goal is really to develop a more complete picture of your target audience. For example, finding the specific age ranges rather than just one large age range. Consider if they're in the city, the suburbs, rural, their education level, type of employment, and much more. Now that you're thinking about the goals of your audience, let's add another consideration into the mix, tracking and measuring success. So if you don't track and measure your website's performance, you won't have a way to make improvements going forward, at least any improvements based on data. So another way to think about it is you are modifying a bicycle, you wanted to make it go faster, but you never actually measured how fast it went before you made those modifications. So you really don't know, what kind of metrics are exactly you're tracking. And there are a lot of ways to actually track your website success, and some are more accurate than others. But one way you could start by asking how your customers found you, either when they call you on the phone or if they visit you in person. You could also set up a free call tracking number, and if you happen to advertise with Google, you can set up that tracking to record every time your ad results in a phone call. You could also track the number of emails and form submissions from your website. Or if you have an e-commerce site, you can track sales. You can also use web analytics software like Google Analytics, and that will help you analyze visitor behavior on your website. So let's talk about analytics briefly. So Google Analytics is a free tool that you can use to better understand your audience and the activity that they perform on your website. The information will help you make strategic decisions for your business. So when you review your Google Analytics data, you'll actually be able to learn which search terms and sources drove the most traffic to your website, the demographic information for your most profitable customers, understand the type of content that your audience is most interested in, and also evaluate which channels drive the most conversions. So to set up a Google Analytics account, it's completely free. All you have to do is go to g.co/analytics, and you'll either start by creating a new account or signing into your existing analytics account. Then you'll need to create a property in your analytics account. So if you haven't already done that, you can add a property to track your website. So follow the instructions after you add that tracking property, and it'll give you a tracking code that you can place within your website so that you can collect the data about your visitors' behavior. If you use a content management system, there actually might be a place to enter your Google Analytics tracking ID. So you might want to just try searching your CMS Help Center for how to add Google Analytics. So on this slide, we have an example of one helpful analytics report, and it's a category of reports called audience reports. So the audience reports will provide insight into the characteristics of your users, such as the demographics, interests, geography, language of behavior, technology, and as well as their devices. Some business owners might have preconceived notions about their customers, like a typical age range, gender, interests, or they might have a preconceived notion that extends to what they think the visitors want to do on the website. So analytics can provide the data that you need to understand your website visitors. And then you can potentially detect a mismatch if you had previously been thinking about them wrong. So as you create or improve your website, you can use the information in this report to fine-tune the site based on the data. So now that we've talked about the goals and the tips for choosing a design, let's talk about the information that's within the website. So a great website is well organized. If you don't have a lot of web pages right now, your site should and probably will grow over time. So planning how existing and future content will fit into the framework of your website will help set your site up for success. So we start with a plan, or an information architecture plan, or IA. An IA sounds technical, but you don't need to be a website designer, a programmer, or even an architect to create one. Simply put, it's a plan to organize information on your website. So the IA maps out the sections, pages, and functionality of your website. And we can see on the screen one example, but most web pages typically have these sections in their website. That would be the home page, an About Us section, and as well as a contact page. Depending on your business, you'll probably have a products or services section too, but how do you want to organize all that information? The best way is by considering those business goals that we set earlier in the workshop. So we can take a look at this example in more detail. This is a jewelry business, and you can see that the products are actually organized by jewelry type. So this is one example that you can extend to your line of business to help you create that information architecture. So here are a few tips for organizing your website. When you choose the names and the labels for parts of your website, you want to keep them short and descriptive. And as you create a website plan, you want to remember that you should keep the most important information in the main navigation. And that information will depend on your business and business goals. But the plan should help you also create and select the most appropriate website design and template. So to get started, we'll define the target audience. We sort of already did this earlier, but another couple questions you could ask yourself is, what do you want people to take away from the website? What information do you want them to take away? Or you could also ask people what they want to take away. So think about some of the questions that people ask you about your business. Then you can make a list of keywords that are related to your business. Think about ways you could maybe incorporate any of those into the website navigation or organization. And then you can make a list of information or features that you eventually want to have on your website. And think about how that would help reach your business goal. So in the slide here, we have an example website, a quilts company, and you can see the short, clear descriptions on the main navigation. The business owner has also organized the site into categories that are relevant and understood by her target audience, such as yardage and pre-cut fabric. So you can also see the information about online shopping in the top right navigation, where you may be accustomed to seeing the shopping cart. So we've talked about the goals and the organization of your website. The next thing we want to consider is creating relevant content and experiences no matter which device your visitor is using. So first, let's talk about mobile. The image to the right shows a woman, typing on her smartphone. Like many of us today, about 50% of all web traffic is actually coming from a mobile device. And consumers expect to be able to use, your website on their phones or tablets without it being difficult. In fact, actually, 46% of people say they would not purchase from a brand again if they had an interruptive mobile experience. So making your website work on mobile devices is no longer an afterthought. It is a priority. But the good news is more and more websites are being built from the start with technology that will automatically optimize the website to best fit the devices being viewed on. So this responsive web design adjusts the site's appearance to best present the information based on the screen and what type of device. But no matter what device a visitor uses, they have to be able to find that useful information on your website. So let's talk about useful information for your website or the content. When you think of the term content, the first thing you might have come to mind is text, like words in a book. That is one type of content, but it could also include images, videos, even downloads and tools. So say your products are visual, you might create a how-to video to help your customers. Or if you sell cameras or another device, you might offer downloadable PDF product manuals. Or if your customer needs answers to questions, you can offer tools for that to help them. For example, say a business delivers mulch to residential customers. They created a mulch calculator in order to help their customers determine the right amount to order. So think about your business and what content could be useful to your customers, and also which content would support your business goals. So whenever possible, try to create unique and original content. This can really help set your business apart from the competition. Another thing to keep in mind is as you create and publish content to your website, consider how customers might actually search Google to find that content. So you want to be sure to include those words or phrases in the content to help Google and other search engines ultimately be able to index and find it. So if you're not sure how people search on Google, you can try Google Trends. Google Trends is a free tool that you can use to understand the relative popularity of keywords over time. In the screenshot, we see the comparison of yoga terms over a particular range of time. So in the case of a yoga studio, they want to create relevant and useful content that helps human visitors as well as Google understand what their website is about. So using Google Trends, the yoga studio could compare the keyword popularity of vinyasa versus restorative, flow versus hot. So if you would like to try this out for yourself, go to g.co/trends. Then you'll enter the keywords or phrases that you'd like to compare. Then you'll narrow down the search results by location, by clicking a state or a region. Then you can adjust the date range, so maybe the past 12 months, and then you can view those results. You can also get related queries that could generate new ideas for terms for your business. So let's move on to another aspect of a great website, and that's functionality. What does functionality mean in this context? It refers to parts of your website that allows visitors to take actions. If you're making a list of all the functionality you want to include on your website, it might include a site search, an online store, contact form, or a custom tool that can be designed specifically for your customer. And you want the functionality to support your business goals. So we could look at two different scenarios here on the slide. Scenario one, you run a shoe repair business. People either call or stop by to get quotes on their repairs. So rather than have them do that, you could actually create an online form for the customers to submit pictures of their needed repair, and they can get the quote online without having to visit the store or calling to give a description of the item and needed repair. In scenario two, you answer the same set of questions every day on the phone. So how could your website help this? Well, you could create a simple web page such as a frequently asked questions page that would help customers find answers to those basic questions. So let's talk about the do's and the don'ts of functionality. You want to make sure that the functionality will help your customers. So if you have a restaurant and your customers are constantly asking you about the ability to place an order online, you should think about adding an online ordering form to your website. Customers typically want to minimize the amount of time that they're spending on your website. So you want to minimize the steps in the checkout process with features like mobile payments, also by keeping the forms short and sweet. And also don't just add functionality for the sake of having it. It should always have a good purpose. Here are some don'ts. Avoid interruptions like pop-ups. So if a visitor lands on your site, there shouldn't be pop-ups popping up everywhere. Don't embed videos that will autoplay with sound when visitors land on your website. And also don't trade user experience for beautiful design. In the case of a website, it is really function over form. So we've talked about some of the big picture topics, including goals, organization, functionality. So now let's look at how easy it is to navigate through your site. This section is focused on design, but instead of how pretty it looks, it's rather focusing on how intuitive it is to use. So in other words, does your website naturally lead through a process on the site? Can visitors use your site without struggling or even thinking hard? So a design that is easy to use can have a significant impact on whether your site supports your business goals. So let's take a look at a few things to consider when building a great experience for your website visitors. So first is the navigation. So you want to make it easy to get around your site. One way you could do this is highlighting elements when they're selected, such as highlighting a product in your store as someone hovers over it. Designing your website to allow plenty of space for mobile users. Fingertips are little, pressed for space sometimes. And if your site includes a call to action, you want to make that tappable so the visitors will be taken directly to the content that they want to access. So you could see on this slide here, there's an example of Patricia Nash Designs. So as you click the Learn More link, it will take you to your latest collection. Tip number 2 is shopping. So you want to make it easy for customers to shop, continue shopping, and or come back to an earlier page that ensures that if they came back to the site after a break, everything is still there. In the example, we have an added to cart kind of message as you add a product to the cart. This is another tip that you could implement to make it easier for someone shopping on your website to quickly add things to the cart and then continue browsing more products. Tip number 3 is for checkout. So you want to make it easy as possible to check out as well as pay on mobile devices. So how many of you have tried checking out online, especially on your phone, and just given up because it's too much entering forms or too many pages of information they need? These are things you might have encountered, and really a difficult checkout process can have a major impact to your website's conversion rate. So there are things you could do to make it easier for your visitors to check out. One of those is to reduce the number of steps that it takes to go through the checkout process. You could also show their progress as they move throughout the checkout process. That'll help them, figure out when they're done or if they need to keep going. And then you can use guest checkouts so visitors don't have to create an account and enter in a bunch of information. Last, you could enable digital wallets such as Google Pay or Apple Pay in order to make payments easier. So we know that mobile is so important, as we touched on earlier in the presentation. So it's a good idea to make sure your website is compatible with all devices. You can use Google's Chrome Inspector tool to test your website's compatibility with all devices. So to use the Google Chrome Inspector, navigate to your website in a Chrome browser, and then you'll want to right-click anywhere on the page and select Inspect, as you can see in the picture on the slide. Then you'll click on the icon for Toggle Device Toolbar, and then use the responsive dropdown to select which type of device it is. Then you can view the website from different devices types. Last but not least, a great website is search-friendly. So you've invested the resources of building a website, and you want to make sure that people are able to find it when they search online. The process of helping a website increase its visibility on search engines is called search engine optimization, or SEO. SEO could have its own presentation, but the section coming up will give you a few tips that could help get your site off to a good start. Being findable on Google search results is critical for a business website that depends on visitor traffic. Most people that use search engines, type in a question or a phrase into their search engine of choice, and it's especially true for smartphone users. So now let's deconstruct how the search results pages look to help you better understand how to appear on Google search results. So in this slide, we see how a typical search results page would look. On the top part, we have the search query, and below that, you could see ads, and they're clearly labeled as sponsored or ad. You might also see shopping ads with thumbnail images for those products. Below that, you might see text ads, and then beneath that, you'll see the organic search results. You could also see on the right-hand corner, the right-hand side of the page is a business profile. So if you had a storefront or shop that people regularly, visit in person, this could be a good option to help increase your visibility as well. So now that we've seen a search results page and deconstructed the various sections of it, it might be helpful to understand how Google is deciding which information is displaying and how does search work. Imagine that the web is a book with trillions of pages, and it's Google's job to read that book, categorize the pages, and help the searchers find the information within those pages. Sounds easy, but to read these pages, Google uses a software called a web crawler or a spider. And as new pages are found, they're added to Google's index. So when people search, the results are pulled from that index. And in order to find the most relevant results, Google's algorithm uses over 200 signals to generate that result. Some examples might be the freshness of the website content, the number of other websites that are linking to your particular website, and the relative authority of those links. Also the quality of the content on the website, the URL and the page title, whether the best result is a web page, or maybe it's an image or a news article. So websites that want to improve their chances of appearing higher in Google search results use search engine optimization, also known as SEO. Some people hire companies or consultants to help them with their SEO, while others will work on it themselves. So here's a few tips to get you started. Tip number one, optimize the load time of your website, especially for those mobile devices. So you can test your site's mobile speed at g.co/testmysite. Another tip is to add original content that's useful, information-rich, and accurate, and include the keywords that users would typically find on your pages, and make sure that your site was actually using those words. And then for links, especially in the navigation, use text when possible. So if it's an image that you have as a link, make sure that you include the relevant ALT tag or alt description. Adding the internal links will help your website visitors find other areas of your website this way. So your website should include descriptive page titles and accurate page descriptions. Many content management systems include areas where you can add them to each page, so that makes it a lot easier for you. So you can make page titles and descriptions that are unique to each page. That's one way of increasing your SEO. And also remember information architecture. So it not only helps human visitors, but it also helps Google interpret your content on your site. So that would be determining what's the important information and what's less important. So that's where the information architecture can really impact your website success. And then remember to design your website for all browsers, device types, and sizes. So that's desktops, tablets, and smartphones. Another tool from Google that can help monitor, maintain, or troubleshoot your site's performance on Google search results is the Google Search Console. Search Console is free, and it measures your website's traffic and its performance, can help you fix issues and help make your site look best in Google search results. So even if you won't be using Search Console yourself, you at least want to be aware of it. Maybe become familiar with just the basics of optimizing your site for search engines, and just to know which features are available. So even if you hire someone to help you with the SEO, it's very likely that they'll be using the Search Console to help them, monitor the site traffic, optimize ranking, etc. So the information from the Search Console reports can influence technical decisions and offer marketing analysis in conjunction with Google tools such as Google Analytics, Google Trends, and Google Ads. So to sign up for a free Search Console account, start by going to g.co/Search Console. You'll need to add a website property to your Search Console account and then verify your ownership. You can create a property that includes the entire domain, such as example.com, or a property that's just limited to one part of your website, such as the clothing section. Once the verification is complete, your account will be ready and it will start collecting data for the reports. You could visit the Help Center to learn more about using the Search Console, but here are a few highlights. So you'll receive an email if any unusual activity occurs on your website. And unusual activity could be, if your website's been hacked, or if there's problems that Google had when they're trying to index your site. Google will also email you if there's any detection that your site violates Google's search quality guidelines. You can check on your Search Console status. You want to make sure that your site isn't experiencing an increase in errors or have an unusual dip in click counts, because these could be signs that your site has issues and you want to be able to fix those. You can also tell Google which pages to crawl by adding and updating your site map. So you can also tell Google what pages not to crawl by using robots.txt or no index tags. Again, visit the Help Center to learn more. So let's take a look inside of the Search Console. We can look at some of the available tools and reports, including the performance report, which shows the important metrics about how your site performs in Google search results, how often it comes up, the average position in the search results, the click-through rate, and any special features such as rich results that are associated with your results. Then you have the URL inspector tool that allows you to check specific URLs on your website so that you can see the status of how Google search sees that URL. This tool provides detailed crawl, index, and survey information about your pages directly from the Google index. And the mobile usability report is a report that shows you which pages in your property would have usability problems when viewed on mobile devices. So finally, you should think about your website as not just your total presence online, but one small piece of an online puzzle. You might have other ways to connect with your audience online. Sometimes you might meet your customers in other ways, like Google Ads or a YouTube channel. But be sure to connect all the ways that your business appears online in order to help the customers interact with your brand in as many ways as they can. So let's talk about the next steps. We covered a lot of information. So what are the next steps that you should do next? So you want to start by making a list of business goals that would help support your website. And if you're building a new site, choosing a design that works on all browsers and devices. Or if you have your site for a while, you want to check on how it performs on all devices, especially mobile. Third, create or recreate your plan for content. The website's information architecture organization will help human visitors as well as Google's search engine to navigate your website more easily. Once you have your plan, you want to start adding the content. The more you can publish useful information that's original on your website, the better. So think about your website, how it can offer functionality that would support your business goals. Before investing the time and resources in building a custom tool, it might be worth checking out to see if there's an existing software that can be bought or licensed for your site. And last but not least, you want to be search engine friendly. If search engines can't find you, potential customers will have difficulty finding your site as well. So here are some resources that Google has that you can use when you want to learn more information about websites or the Google tools that we discussed. If you want to sharpen your marketing skills, check out Primer. It's a free app that you can download to your phone. So if you have a mobile device, Android device, you can download it, Google Play, Apple, get it at the Apple Store. And it has a series of short, just kind of fun lessons that are under 5 minutes each about marketing. Another great resource is the quick help videos. So you can get answers and learn how to make the most out of Google's tools in just a few minutes. So you can learn things such as how to get your business listed on Google Search and Maps, how to create a YouTube channel for your business, and how to create a Google Meet conference. So there's much more content on g.co/grow/quick help. And now we'll talk about a little bit about Google on Air. So you can grow your digital skills no matter where you're located through online workshops. You can learn skills that help you stay connected and productive while you're working and manage your business remotely. So if you're curious about these workshops, go to g.co/grow-on-air for the current offerings for digital skills workshops and those subscriptions that go with those. Thank you so much for attending today's workshop. Have a great day.